Hello, good morning, everybody. It's 9:15 here in Sweden, and we have Eungyu. Oh, I cannot say your name. I'm sorry. Park from Business
In
Sweden,
the
and
park?
you,
Yes.
yeah, and you are from. You're sitting in South Korea, in Seoul, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Are you ready to tell us everything about how to do business in South Korea?
Absolutely.
Well,
At
the
least I'll
idea,
try.
yeah, and you're going to do your presentation, and then afterwards, I'm going to get all the questions in the chat, and I'm going to make a few questions to you.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, here you go.
Okay, then let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. And hello, everyone. My name is Eungyu Park. I'm an investment advisor to Business Sweden Seoul office. I've been promoting investment from Korea to Sweden here for the past 9 years, and startup support has been one of the key for our promotion. So I hope today I can paint a good picture of Korea and our ecosystem for you. So when you meet potential clients or partners from South Korea, you know about Korea and ready to do business with Korea. So let's start. Today I'll briefly talk about South Korea in general, the statistics and the economy. And then I'll go into a bit of a deep for COVID-19 impact. Of course, this is very important nowadays with a global pandemic. And then a bit of a practical business related things I'll discuss you that within the doing business in South Korea. And then finally, I'll share a bit of offering and activities that Business Sweden supports when you, if that is of your interest too. Let's start from looking at the map. Did you know that there are more people living inside of this red circle than outside of it? APEC region takes around 33% of global GDP and 55% of global growth. And almost 60% of all world's megacities are located in this small circle. So you can say that if you are considered to grow global successful business, basically you cannot do so without targeting APEC region. Asia is definitely dominating among the world's most populated and fast-growing economies. When you see the blue highlighted countries that are from APEC region, and it's noticeable to see that APEC countries are both highly populated and with high growth. So if you compare that with Sweden, which is yellow highlighted here, you can see how much more population and how much more growth potential you can ride with when targeting APEC region. Naturally, it is also a region and a home for the most successful companies. If you see the Fortune 500 companies, out of 40% are based in Asia. And average 48% of their sales are also from Asia. And if you take South Korea, we have 16 companies put their names on the Fortune Global 500 list. There are Samsung Electronic, Hyundai Motors, SK Holdings, and LG Electronics, and so on. They are located in Asia, and their sales are largely come from Asian market too. When you look at Swedish company, though, unfortunately, we are capturing a bit less if you compare that with other global leading companies. Our Swedish global companies have less than 20% of their sales in APEC region. And if you check the total size of sales volume, definitely Europe is a focus, and then APEC and Americas. So we are a bit missing out of this big market potential because it's not so visible to Swedish company, I guess. Among APEC, South Korea is third largest country when it comes to trading volume with Sweden. We have been doing so for several years, and it's after China and Japan. Globally, Korea is Sweden's 18th largest trading partner, and we are 2 billion SEK ahead of India and 7 billion SEK behind Japan. And since the market demands in Asia are expected to increase every year, we can expect more growth in this region as a whole. South Korea is one of the most incredible economic turnaround that world has ever seen. When you see Seoul in 1950s, we just got out of the Korean War. So in the left picture was Seoul in that time. You wouldn't expect that we will become the world's 9th largest economy and the country where BTS and Samsung comes from. And if you see the statistics between maybe Sweden and Korea, the size of South Korea is actually 1/4 of Sweden. However, the population shows the opposite. Korea have 50 million population, which is 5 times bigger than that of Sweden. Of course, GDP per capita is a little less than Sweden, but by GDP as itself, we are 9th largest GDP in the world. When you see how many companies established in Sweden and in Korea, we have around 10 plus Korean companies established in Sweden and more than 100 Swedish companies in Korea. We believe this is something to do with the market size, but Business Sweden is trying very hard to increase both numbers of company establishments in both countries. So who are those Swedish companies established in Korea? We kind of name all the brands here. And you can see all the usual suspects as Ericsson, ABB, IKEA, who has 3 stores in Korea, Volvo, Saab, and H&M. So we see a large number of interests coming from retail, ICT, medtech, packaging, education, and chemical companies. And we also see some increasing interest from the startups too, in ICT, fintech, life science, and gaming area. So this trend will continue to grow, we think. I wasn't so sure what more aspects should I talk about today. So I figured that maybe since some of you would meet Korean companies real soon, maybe some interesting facts about Korea could be of interest. So here it goes. As I mentioned, we have around 50 million population, and 50% of those population are located in Sweden. No, in Seoul, sorry. And as you can see, Seoul is a very densely populated megacity because 50% of the whole population are living in this capital. South Korea has implemented 16 FTAs so far. So we have 56 FTA partners as of 2020. And the Korean government planned to cover 90% of total global GDP by 2022. So the FTA partnership would continue to grow. And like I mentioned, we just become 9th largest economy in the world. Despite a virus-caused contraction, Korean nominal GDP is expected to fall only 1.0%. And so we, according to the forecast by the OECD, we become the 9th largest global economy, surpassing Brazil, Canada, and Russia, where they got bigger hit by COVID-19. And we are constantly placed high rank for innovation as well. We are 2nd best innovator in the world according to Bloomberg Innovation Index. And we are a country with a high education fever. So around 70% of all population goes to university. And we are ranked number 5 when it comes to the number of unicorn generation. So we have 11 unicorns so far, and among 1.7 million startups. We're the first nation to have 5G network, and our internet is one of the fastest in the world. We have 4G network coverage in all over the nation. And some of the global brands are from South Korea. You probably know Samsung, Hyundai, and LG, and recently BTS, if you know the K-pop. Since today's audience is largely startups, here are some Korean startup ecosystem as a snapshot. Like I said before, we have 11 unicorns, mostly e-commerce, fintech, cosmetics, gaming, and home delivery sector. And we have very strong support from government and industry too. We have around 500 organizations in Greater Seoul area supporting startups. Maybe I should highlight that we have very strong venture capital scene in Korea, where government is backing strongly with funding of all the venture capitals in Korea. So we have both global and local VC, and also corporate VC, where they are actively looking for startups to support and also to invest. Some names of accelerators and co-working spaces here. As you can see, we have both global and local accelerators. And co-working space-wise, we have WeWork, Google Campus located, and also several government-initiated co-working spaces where you can get a free rental space and also free accelerator program when you get into it. So if you are looking into establish yourself as a startup in Korea, maybe those are quite good ways to do so. Okay, on to the next impact of COVID-19. Let's start by showing how much economic downturn that we are facing now. Of course, global economy on average, we got hit quite badly of the COVID-19. It's said that we are experiencing the worst recession since the Great Depression, and we see minus 4.1 growth this year as a whole world. But if you see Korea, the Korean economy downturn is lower than global average, and we are recovering very fast. So we have only minus 1% of prediction till June this year, and we expect to have a 3.2 growth rate next year. If you look at the trade balance from Korea point of view, we see both downturn of export and imports around 10%. However, the trade balance has recovered since May. As you can see, in April, we got a big dip in April, but it started to get recovered already from June this year. So facing a bit of an average turnaround now. It's very important factor for export depending economy like Korea. So we are quite see a bit of a hope here. If you go into sector by sectors, of course, a lot of exports sectors are negatively impacted by COVID. We see double-digit declines in most of the sectors. However, semiconductors and computer sectors are increasing this exports. And we see it because of demands for work from home solutions. So that's a bit of a positive side there. When it comes to trading partner, Eurozone and Japan hit the largest among main partners. It's mainly due to COVID, but for trade with Japan, we can say that it was already on downward trend due to our geopolitical issue that started last year. When we look at Korea-Sweden trade specifically, we see a larger drop in exports than that are for imports. And it's both relative terms and absolute numbers. So we see a bit of a negative impact. And if you see the sectors by sector, we see a large drop in automotive related sectors and also steel sector. But we see a bit of an increase from for this pharma and also semiconductor circuit sector. So that's a bit of a positive side of it. If you see the consumer sentiments, it's slowly recovering already from spring. I mean, for South Korea, we had a sharp increase in reported COVID-19 cases already in February. And from there, we had very pessimistic consumer sentiments. But there, it's slowly recovering, but still below baseline index on the negative side. So we hope that this trend, this positive, becoming more optimistic sentiments, we hope in the near future. That was a bit of a COVID news, but now on to more practical side of today's presentation: how to do business with South Korean. So when you have a chance to be at the physical meeting in Korea, what do you need to think about when it comes to business culture-wise and etiquette-wise? First, when you first meet Korean companies, please bring your business card to represent yourself. And when you give and receive, please do so with 2 hands. And when you take the business card, take a good look at the business card that you got. And don't throw it in your pocket or in the desk, because business card represent who you are, and you need to actually respect the meeting counterparts by looking at it and also place it in the table. And I actually saw one time one Swedish client kind of play it with the business card of Korean partners. He kind of fold it and tear it. It's absolutely no, it's not a good sign. So it's a very bad sign of disrespect. So please don't do that. And always handshake or light bow. And during COVID situation, maybe fist bump is good as a saying hello. In Korea, we are very modern, but yet also very traditional country. Respect for age and status are very important in Korean culture. We have a very strong hierarchy system in all aspects of social interaction. And in the meeting, you also see this by sitting according to rank. And the most senior person would only speak, and based on the decision making, like hierarchy, you would notice that some are have louder voice than the others. And you don't usually use first name. We only use last name basis. So you will probably meet a lot of Mr. Kim, Miss Park, and Miss Lee in Korea. So that are a bit of information on that. As for information and communication flow, I think it's probably in many other Asian countries too, but in Korea, it's not always same information flow. If I can say that. You would experience harder to get information in formal meeting setup. But if you have during breaks, lunch or dinner, you would feel it's much easier to get information, because I think the Korean are more relaxed in informal situation. So maybe you can think about utilizing that sort of environment. We have also our own messaging app called KakaoTalk. and people often share business information with KakaoTalk even. So maybe it's good also to download the KakaoTalk app for communication tool if you come to Korea and do business with Koreans. Some other tips and tricks we want to share when doing business in Korea. First, it's highly advised to find a good local partner. I mean, selling by email from a distance is very hard since we really value the relationship building, the Koreans. So try to be very local and maybe appear as local as possible. It's a good idea to hire some local staff so that you can have someone feet on the ground for sales support and localization. Maybe a bit minor thing, but check before your meeting or any business deal whether the counterpart company is actually real company and legitimate. Sometimes it may be only one-man show company with only fancy business cards. So it's always safe to check and do homework beforehand. And speed is very important. We have 빨리빨리 culture. That means in English, quick. We are extremely service-minded, and customer is king in Korea. And we regard services as free of charge all the time. So you would experience a very fast and extremely good service in Korea. It's almost like a basis for Korean. So try to be very responsive and quick. And I know in July, a lot of Swedish company take a long break. But even during July, it will be good to reply email to all this 빨리빨리 expected Koreans. And like I said before, building relationship and respect the local business culture is very, very important for Korean business. You always think long-term and you should commit it for the long-term relationship because building relationship may be the key for the business success in Korea. And try not to be too pushy with Korean clients. Expect the price war because Korean are really sensitive with the price. But don't give in that easily, as Koreans are very persistent, but admire this kind of quality in others. So you shouldn't be too pushy, but be persistent with the negotiation process. Also, decision-making process can be a bit different and take a longer time than you expected. But the key here is that mapping the stakeholder is very important. If you find the right decision-making process and also decision maker, if you target the decision maker, process might be shorter and easier. So always try to know who is making the decision. And if you don't know that much, just ask how the decision-making process will be like. I think they will appreciate it and also share some of their internal process-wise too. So in short, we have 4 key success factors for you. First, respect the local business culture and process. Second, local presence with a feet on the ground is always a good idea. Target the right stakeholder and know the decision maker is a key also. Be agile, but long-term is another one. Finally, I would like to maybe end this presentation by sharing our service offering and also our activities. In Korea, we have been doing this trade and invest promotion for more than 20 years. And we can identify there are 6 important sectors, especially interesting for Swedish companies that are ICT, industrial machinery, shipbuilding, offshore, healthcare, life science, retail, consumers, and energy and clean tech. Those 6 industries are where Koreans are very strong. But you see, since there are a lot of global leader in this sector from Korea, you see a very good partnership opportunities too. So if you are from those six sectors, or if you are not, but still think that the Korean markets are very interesting, and you want to try to expand your business, please contact us so that we will discuss how to support you. Because Business Sweden, we support many leading Swedish company in their international market expansion. We have 43 offices across 39 countries on all major continents. We have a lot of offices in APAC, and Seoul office is one of it. And what we do is basically three sectors. We do management consulting. We also manage the partnership and stakeholder. We can set the strategy together, how to deal with each market, go-to-market strategy for you. And we also have a back office services too. So if you are to register your company, if you need a space to place your local staff, we can be of help to you too. So with that, thank you very much for your time. And if you have any further questions, we can have a Q&A session right after this, or you can just simply email me and introduce your solution, and we can discuss further. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. That was really interesting. I'm actually amazed when I read that you have, I have to say it again, 1,700,000 startups.
Exactly.
And I was thinking, I was thinking actually, around that. You show a picture in the beginning from the Seoul of 1900, from the 50s.
Yes,
after
yes.
the war, and nowadays, and like from a war to 11 unicorns, the 9th largest economy in the world, 1,700,000 startups. Can you tell us the second largest and the second most innovative country in the world? Do you know? I mean, what? It must have something to do with the mindset of Koreans. So can you tell me? I mean, what do you think is the success factor to this?
I mean, there must be many reasons for this, but I will say that South Korea doesn't have a lot of many natural resources. Like we don't have oil, gas, or anything like that. We don't have any kind of natural grounds to become very successful economy. What we do have, although, is the all the people. Korean people are very persistent and hardworking people, and we always think that we call it Han River miracle. Han River miracle always become possible through the hardworking Korean. So we kind of respect, because we care a lot about education too. For example, like I mentioned in the presentation, 70% of Korean goes to university, and a lot of parents take a high care of their children to get good education as possible. So maybe that could be one of the example. But we think that hardworking Korean made this possible.
Yeah, that's amazing, actually. And you can start leaving the questions in the chat if you want. I have a few ones myself, because it was so interesting that I'm really curious, not just because of that. What do you think are the difference between, I mean, Sweden is also always high ranked when it comes to innovation, as well as you. And you work together with Sweden for Business Sweden. So what do you think could be the one or two differences between why Sweden is so innovative and why South Korea is so innovative?
I think when it comes to innovation, Korean way of handling innovation is, you can say, a bit of a top-down. We always, government has been playing a very important role in making core industry become more innovative and try out new things. So you can say a bit of a top-down, but very strong top-down. So every effort's focus in that innovative, like a growth. when you compare that with Sweden, I mean, Swedish innovation, maybe you have a better say on this, but what I felt is that it always comes from the bottom to top. And you put a lot of creativity into work of innovation. So I see that a bit of a difference between Korean way and Swedish way. I think both are very successful because Sweden always rank, like you said, very high for the innovation index too. But since Korean also do some very good work in innovation, I think there are very good synergy that we can make also too.
Well, I'm starting to read the questions from the chat. You know that you can leave them there and I will read them out loud. Hi, thanks for the interesting talk. You mentioned that some companies may just be a one-made show. What is the easiest way to take this? Is there a register is there a register that international startup can take? This is very important, actually.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the thing. I think most of the Korean need to register themselves, but as a foreign company, it would be very hard to check their legitimate business, whether it's existing or not, if you don't know how to, Google in Korean. I think the simple way is that we have a bit of a basic export service within Business Sweden. If you're a Swedish company, just ask us that you're dealing with this one company. Can you do the quick check whether this is a legitimate business or not? Maybe that could be the easiest way that I can say right away. You would probably need a bit of a Korean support on this. But other ways that, I think that would be the easiest way.
Then I have another one because you mentioned the importance of the business card. How do we do it nowadays? Most of the meetings are going to be online, so there will be no business card.
Yeah.
How can we make that how can the companies that are going to meet the large companies from South Korea, how can they introduce themselves in a good way, which will be a little bit equivalent to a business card?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's much easier to do physically, of course, but in this like digital meeting situation, I don't know. I think if we have moderator, maybe we can start by round the table discussion, and round table introduction, saying your company and your position, and like maybe a bit of a Korean hello, annyeong can be nice. But I just wanted to highlight that that's a certain way to handle the business card in Korean culture. Don't tear it. I think that was the most horrible thing that I saw among the business meetings. But in digital meeting, I don't think that would be that much an issue.
Yeah, I have another question before I read the question there. Because I am not from Sweden, I am from South America, and there's something that I know, I always say that I notice always, is like, for me, in my culture, a yes is not the same thing as a yes in Sweden. In Sweden, for example, when you say yes, it's like a promise. In South America, it's not such. I can say that maybe a yes could be a maybe sometimes. Yeah. What does a yes mean to you in South Korea? Does it mean like a promise, just like in Sweden, or it's like a little bit more maybe?
You can say it's quite alike in Sweden, because we Korean people don't promise that easily, but when they do, it's a hard yes. But of course, you need to also read their bit if they're saying this just to be polite. I think you see this much more with Japanese, but for Korean, it's not as much as Japan. But we do have certain kind of being polite culture too. So even though when they say yes, it's a 100% that they said yes, but you need to also take account that they are maybe just being polite.
Yeah, that's a good something good to know. I will read another question. Thank you for such a wonderful talk. I agree. Does Korea support outsources work or encourage to set up business in Korea only? Like, what is the balance?
Outsourced work. So probably William meant that is it necessary to have a established entity in Korea? Would that be the question?
Yes, correct. So sorry, I missed the introduction session, so I don't know how to pronounce your name exactly.
Eungyu. Yes.
I understand. Asian people take it wrong when we don't pronounce properly.
It's okay.
Sorry, maybe how to pronounce your name first, so it'll be easy for me.
It's Eungyu.
Eungyu. Okay. So my question is basically, it was wonderful talk, as I mentioned, but I am just trying to understand, like, is Korea support from a government perspective or generally Korean perspective? Does they support or encourage the outsourced work? Example, I'm basically in Sweden. So do they encourage to do business from Sweden? Example, outsourced work by Korea doing business in Sweden, or do they encourage to come and set up the business in Korea? Then what is the balance actually like? What is most encouraged business kind of model?
I would say,
example, I am mainly doing a business on IT and consulting, like consulting work. So in that case, it doesn't matter, I need to come to Korea. So if they are okay to outsource the work, then I can do it anywhere in the world. So what kind of legal kind of things are there in Korea? So which can we work outside of Korea, or like, I'm just trying to understand that perspective.
Okay, I see. I think if you can, I think probably Korean way prefer to have to work with company who have a local presence. They have a strong preference over that. Of course, this is changing because we are now looking at new normal situation where digital remote working is becoming norm. But if you just say from just 1 year ago perspective, it's definitely preferred to have presence in Korea if you consider to have a serious business with Korean company.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, I can make the last question that I have, and it's like, what's the image in South Korea of the Swedes and also of Sweden in general, and when it comes to startup as well?
The image of Sweden is extremely good in Korea. I don't have exact the data, but I read once from the Swedish embassy presentation that among the image of each countries, Sweden rank, I think, top 5 of the whole world. Yes, and it's something to do with the Scandinavian style. I think it made a big boom in Korea for having like Scandinavian design, Scandinavian way of life, and that made a quite good image for Korean when it comes to Sweden. And IKEA, for example, made a huge success in Korea, and when you go there, like Sweden everywhere. So the general image for Sweden is very good. When it comes to image of innovation, although maybe there's some room of improvement, even though Korean are aware of Sweden and Swedish image. It always comes through a bit of a retail perspective, but not the innovation perspective. And I think it can be a lot changed because Sweden is definitely one of the leading country for innovation. And if Korean can see more of that example, I believe we can have a better understanding of innovation system within Sweden too.
And I have my last question. I don't know if somebody else wants to put another last question there in the chat. I mean, you talked a lot about the do's and the don'ts. What for you is the biggest mistake you can make when you have a 20-minute meeting with a South Korean company? and that will make that the whole meeting will go to a disaster? What is like the biggest, the biggest don't, I would say?
I would say the biggest don't is that try to see the first meeting as just first meeting. Korean would never make any decision based on the first meeting unless you know and be very good friend to the decision maker. So even though you have a lot of things to say about your company, you have a lot of things to inform and talk about for the partnership, it wouldn't happen just one time. You would need to think this as a long-term partnership. So first meeting, I think it's important to make an impression and very concise with your offering, so that Korean will take the next step a bit of a valuable. So maybe you should think about how to continue the partnership discussion, not to end the discussion in the very first place. Maybe that's some advice that I can give.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, I lost you. I'm sorry. Well, if nobody else has another questions, I'm going to say thank you so much. It was so interesting. I must say that I learned a lot. That is very different actually to cultures. I mean, to the culture here in Sweden stuff. So it was definitely a great presentation from you. And I would like to invite everybody. We have another presentation today at 4 Swedish time with Brazil. And then we have another one at 6 Swedish time, also on how to do business with the USA. And it will be interesting because many people think that maybe they know a lot about the American culture, but maybe there are some do's and don'ts tips and stuff, that could be also very interesting to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Marti. Bye-bye.
Bye.